in the grown person pretending to be a kid situation. The fuck is that called?
You mean like baby play?
I guess, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's not quite my jam.
Okay.
But whatever floats your boat, I suppose. Oh, by the way, it's Tuesday? Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lords of the Night. With me, as always, is the Lord of Pennies, Satsu 2 cents.
What up, Dale?
And I'm your host, Scribe, the Lord of Punishment. Hello, chat. Hello, everyone. Hope you're all having a good week so far, and a good Tuesday in particular. I'm currently rocking a bit of a headache, so if I'm a little off tonight, you probably won't notice, because I'm always a little off. But aside from the keening, sonorous sounds of Squeetus in the background, Satsu, how are you doing?
Pretty good. Just chillaxing, enjoying the soothing BGM of my child screaming in whatever pitch that is she's screaming in.
Just for everyone's edification, Squeetus is not in distress so much as she's just being cranky.
Yeah, she literally requested to go to bed, was taken to bed, and now she's mad about it.
Yeah, buyer's regret. Thank you, Tech Alpaca. Good evening, Satsu and Ra. Yes, Ra. Sun God. That's me. I'm living on the moon, strangely enough. And thank you, Tall Person. Happy National Devil Dog Day. Treats that consist of 2 layers of devil's food cake with cream sandwiched between them. I think I may have had something like that before. I don't know if it was called Devil Dog. It might have just been devil's food cake with cream or something. But thank you. It's always about a lot of national days about food. Between bananas and root beer floats and cherry cheesecake. I guess people just love their food. But regardless, everyone, hope you're doing okay. Like I say, my day, aside from the headache I've been dealing with the last couple hours, was decent, I guess. Just kind of a boring day. Getting ready for the wonderful world of month-end billing and all that entails, because it's all spreadsheets and numbers and things. But if I chip away at it day by day, it shouldn't be that bad by the time we get to Friday this week. Thank you. This is Kyle. Hello, chat people in Lawton. Hello, Kyle. Hope you're doing well. And thank you, Officer Buck. Hey, Snibbles, Satsu, Tuyen, and chat. We're just getting all types of new nicknames today, aren't we? And just for everyone else's edification, Satsu has warned me that he will be muting himself from time to time to spare us the terror that is Squeetus being cranky. So
Indeed.
Yeah, so if he's quiet for a while, it's not because he's not here, unless he's actually not here.
Right.
But just saving us the background noise. Until the little one finally collapses and goes to sleep. But let's see. Anything else going on before we get into it, Satsu?
Nope, nothing that I want to mention right now. So.
Okay. Well then. Monkey Dick, Jim Jones, movies, video games. Hit that like button if you have not already, and I can see that many of you haven't. You're just waiting, I guess. Maybe you want to hear more Squeetus screaming. I don't know. Maybe you're like that. And please share our stuff. Share it far, wide, sideways, and otherwise. YouTube won't. You guys do. And we appreciate it. So, with all that as preamble, let's get into the terrible news of the day. Because why not? A news story that I haven't actually seen all that well spread around, I guess. But suspect in deadly LA shooting rampage killed by police. Or shot, killed by police. Los Angeles police fatally shot a man early Tuesday suspected of going on a violent rampage in the city's downtown, shooting several people, killing 2 of them, including a newlywed, seemingly at random before leading police on an hours-long chase that ended in a standoff on a freeway overpass. The suspect, only described as a man in his late 40s or early 50s, was pronounced dead on the overpass in Orange County, according to the Los Angeles Police Department. Quote, "This appears to be random acts of violence," Police Lieutenant Raul Jovel told reporters in Fullerton, where the man was shot. Quote, "We have no idea what precipitated this," unquote. The man had been driving a white Jeep Cherokee and refused pleas from police and a family member to surrender. Authorities said shots were fired at police during the standoff, and one officer returned fire, killing the man. The shooting rampage adds to LA's recent rise in violent crime. The number of people shot in the city has increased 73% this year, compared with the same time period in 2020. So up 73% in the first 4 months of the year.
In Biden's America? Holy crap.
The police killing Tuesday marks the second time LAPD officers have fatally shot a person in 4 days. Detectives are investigating whether the shootings were hate crimes, the Los Angeles Times reported. The victims included 2 Asian men and a Latino man. Hate crimes, particularly against Asians, have risen dramatically nationwide. Well, the Latino man doesn't count? Okay. Quote, "We are very mindful of the potentiality for that and leaning into that very actively," LAPD Chief Michael Moore said. Let's say it was. The guy's dead. What's the point? What utility is there in investigating whether it was a hate crime or not?
Well, it depends. Who's going to get the, like I said, everybody's waiting with bated breaths to see which designated group is going to get a ton of donations.
I mean, I guess the only thing you could, I'll back up a little bit. If you could find that he was either a part of some organization or part of some larger scheme to do such things, then I suppose that might be relevant. But outside of that, not quite sure what the point is in that. But anyway, so yeah, that terrible thing happened today. I just thought I'd bring it up because, again, I didn't really see it. I mean, maybe I missed it, or maybe CNN changed their headlines, but nobody's really talking about that today, which seems relatively dramatic. But what a lot of people were talking about today was James Carville. Satsu, do you know who James Carville is? Does he look familiar to you?
Not really.
All right, James Carville was instrumental in Bill Clinton's first campaign. And I can't remember if he was involved in the second campaign, but either way, James Carville goes off on wokeness, says our favorite friend at CNN, Chris Cillizza. James Carville changed the face of Democratic politics when he spearheaded the election of Bill Clinton in 1992. Gone were the New Deal echoes. In their place was third wayism, the idea that liberalism had run its course in the country and the way for Democrats to win was to find a new, more moderate path in between the two traditional parties. All of which is a long-winded way of saying that Carville was far ahead of his time and managed to set a course for Democrats to win the popular vote, in 7 of the last 8 presidential contests dating back to 1992. So when Carville speaks about the state of the Democratic Party, he's very much worth listening to. Carville did just that, speak in an interview with Vox's Sean Illing this week, and he went off, capital letters off, on the PC culture of wokeness coursing through his party. Here's Carville, quote, "Wokeness is a problem, and everyone knows it. It's hard to talk to anybody today, and I talk to lots of people in the Democratic Party who doesn't say this, but they don't want to say it out loud," unquote. Asked by
which I think is a key factor in the problem, right?
Yeah.
That's a key point. And a lot of people would dispute that. Be like, no, it's not a problem. It's like, but you're literally upset at the fact that I even mentioned it. Mm-hmm. You're ready to cancel me because I uttered those words. Yeah.
We cannot have any disbelievers. We cannot have any doubters. Anyone who says anything outside the lines is now persona non grata. There cannot be doubt or a dissenting opinion, because then you're the wrong think. Asked by Illing why not, Carville responded succinctly, quote, "Because they'll get clobbered or canceled," unquote. Whether you agree with Carville or not, there's documented proof that he is right. Okay. The rise of former President Donald Trump was built on the idea that Democrats and the media were trying to tell you what you should think and feel. I suppose that's one way of looking at it. And if what you actually thought or felt was outside of that prescribed view, that you were out of step or intolerant or even a bigot. I think you mean then you were out of step or intolerant or even a bigot. Well, here's the thing about bigotry: hating someone for their opinions, which is exactly what the Democratic Party and a lot of the liberal side of things are doing these days. In NPR PBS NewsHour Marist poll. Do you mean in an NPR PBS NewsHour? You are, what's your title again, Chris Cillizza? Sorry. Editor at large. Do you even review your own copy, Chris? Jesus. Conducted shortly after the 2018 midterm elections, a clear majority of people, 52%, said they were, quote, against the country becoming more politically correct and upset that there are too many things people can't say anymore, unquote. Just 36% said that they were, quote, in favor of the United States becoming more politically correct and like when people are being more sensitive in their comments about others, unquote. All of this has happened as the base of the Democratic Party has grown more liberal on virtually every issue, while the base of the Republican Party has grown even more conservative. Well, has the Democratic Party grown more liberal, or have they grown more fearful of themselves? Did you even listen to what Carville was saying?
I don't think it matters what this person's actually saying.
That latter trend is why Trump has now taken to blasting the enforcement of fair elections as woke cancel culture. Chris, you are dodging the issue.
Yeah, blasting the enforcement of fair elections. Really?
Chris, you are... Why are you not interrogating what Carville was saying about the Democratic Party? Why are you diverting all of this back to Trump at the last second? What has that got to do with anything about what Carville was talking? Carville's not talking about Trump. He's talking about the Democratic Party.
Yeah, he is specifically criticizing the Democratic Party and the behaviors that are going on. And he's like, yeah, well, I mean, that's a thing, but let me divert your attention back over to this thing.
Yeah. If you can believe it, Trump, a declared Republican conservative, is against things that the Democratic Party say are true. If you can believe it, but that's not the issue, Chris. Well, apparently we're going to stick on that. Back to Chris talking about Trump. He's using the term as a sort of umbrella description of anything he doesn't like, which, of course, is not the same thing as wokeness or cancel culture. Chris, you understand what wokeness and cancel culture is doing? They're umbrella terms used to describe anything that you don't like on the left. But don't let Trump's ridiculousness distract you. Chris, who brought Trump into this conversation? Who brought Trump into this I wasn't even thinking about Trump. The article has a big picture of James Carville's bald head on there. What does Trump have to do with that? I don't know, but you introduced him. You used Trump to distract us here. You did that. Carville is tapping into a very real sentiment in the electorate, and one that goes well beyond just Republican base voter. Chris, this has nothing to do with the Republican Party. This is a critique of the behavior and the ideology that is pervasive in the Democratic Party and the left these days. You are bringing in irrelevant subject matter. Dude. You are avoiding actually looking at what Carville is saying. You haven't spent any time in this article actually critiquing or interrogating what Carville has to say on the subject or what he might have to, what proof there is. You said, oh, well, some people think this way, but now it's back to Trump and the Republicans. Why?
It literally feels like he's trying his best to say, okay, I like this dude, so I have to say he's right. But I also have to make sure that everybody knows that any sentiments that he's pushing out in regards to this are specifically and exclusively Republican things. But this guy's a little bit different. He kind of has a point, kind of. But remember, Trump thinks this too. So, beware if you want to adopt this mindset.
Yeah. Well, and Chris, why do you think, just out of curiosity, why do you think Trump and the conservatives and people who are against this stuff have so much traction? Do you think that because there's some truth to this? You think that maybe you need to stop and say, well, obviously Trump is going to say anything that is anti-democratic, et cetera, because he's a Republican. Okay, but he's not a mind controller. He's not making this stuff up. You just showed us the statistics that say this. So why don't you set aside the partisan ideology for a second and actually look at what is being said and what effect it is having on people. Is Carville correct when he says that people are scared to speak out about it, even though they believe that this stuff is poisonous? If that is so, can you trust anything that comes out of polls that say they support this kind of thinking? Are you going to take that on board? Are you going to put that into your calculus somewhere, Chris? The point, with the Democratic House and Senate majorities very much up for grabs next November, look for Republican candidates and leaders to try to make the midterm elections a referendum on wokeness.
But we're talking about a Democratic leader making a referendum about wokeness. How did we get... Dude, he just completely flipped the fucking table over. It's upside down now. The fucking topic is completely upside down.
No. Chris didn't even go to that much effort. He is sticking his fingers in his ears and going la 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 la. Chris, there is a look. I don't like end all be all my way or the highway politics on either side of the equation. Okay, you can have a productive debate amongst conservatives on conservative topics and not have everybody in absolute lockstep and actually have a healthy debate. You can have a healthy debate on liberal focuses and things and stuff that don't demonize or vilify anybody for having a different opinion. This is kind of, hopefully, ideally, I know I'm an idealist, naive, etc., how we get to compromise, even amongst our own peers, let's say ideologically. You can't do that on the left right now, and it is poison. It is absolute poison. It'd be the same thing if it was on the right. Okay, we're not talking about left or right here. We're talking about an inability to have an intelligent, reasonable conversation without everybody turning into a villain and having thought crime be the rule of the day. And that's what's happening on the left. Okay, that's what's happening on the left. That's what's happening to so many people who can't even say a word anymore outside the lines of what some abstract concept says is right or wrong without getting completely trashed. And you've seen it amongst your own quote-unquote kind, Chris. Okay? Anybody on the left who steps out of line, uh-oh. And that's what Carville's talking about.
Yeah, he literally just demonstrated it. Like, yeah.
You can't have... even you, Chris, I think, I will extend the benefit of the doubt here for a moment. I will extend the benefit of the doubt that Chris himself, right now in this article, is a self-made victim of exactly what Carville's talking about. I think Chris, like you said, he can't deny what Carville has said. He has to say something about it, but he can't go any further than just saying Carville said this. He can't actually interrogate whether there's some truth to it, whether Chris can draw any comparisons to either experiences he's had, reporting by the left media, and on and on and on, without risking the very thing that Carville is saying, is that if you step out of line, you will be canceled, you'll be clobbered. So maybe Chris, unaware and completely lacking self-awareness, or maybe he just consciously knows he can't go any further than that line. That's why this article is. Because still he has to throw out, well, Carville might be right, but Republicans are still bad guys, and Trump is still out there off in the distance, not being president anymore and saying things, guys. That guy who's out of power, but still a threat to everything because he says that wokeness is bad, just like Carville just did. I don't know if Chris is having a very good time trying to balance these two notions in his head. A Democratic leader figure and a Republican figure are both saying the exact same thing.
It really blows my mind because this article started like, hey, this guy is very trustworthy and he did all these amazing things. So when he talks, it matters. But he's saying this thing that Trump thinks is true. So don't be surprised if other Republicans go and saying this bullshit that clearly isn't true. By the way, this dude is worth listening to, and there is some truth to what he's saying. But there's no truth to what he's saying because Republicans are going to say it. Which one is it, dude? Because he basically just called him a liar towards the end of that article.
It's one of those things. And now I will say, all things considered, the fact that this is actually being brought up, right, that a critique is actually occurring from someone that is very hard to impeach, no pun intended, on the left. I mean, James Carville is not a Republican nut job. James Carville is not some kind of right-wing conspiracy theorist. He's a bit goofy and he is a character, but yeah, what Chris said at the top there is very true. Carville was really ahead of the curve on dealing with Democratic politics, and he's a smart guy. He's got some skeletons in his closet. I'm not going to deny that, but overall, yeah, Carville's not somebody that is an idiot. So I'm thankful at least that someone that they can't sort of ignore completely has said, maybe we should slow down, guys. So we'll see if that gains any more traction as time goes on. But moving on to other things. This came up today, and I was kind of surprised given how the trial for this ended. Former Dallas police officer Amber Geiger asks appeals court to throw out murder conviction for killing Botham Jean. Now, if you remember the big dramatic, this was the story, and I'm sure it'll tell in here. But anyway, the police officer getting off of work one day, goes to her apartment building, goes to the parking garage, gets out of her car, goes to down the hall to her apartment. The door is open, or open it a little bit, it's unlocked. She kicks the door open. She sees someone in her apartment. She shoots this person and kills him, except she got off on the wrong floor, was like a floor above or a floor below where her apartment actually was, and it wasn't her apartment. It was someone else's. And consequently, she was convicted of, I think, was it second-degree murder? Something like that. Anyway, at the end of the trial, the victim's, I think, brother asked the judge if he could hug her because he knew his brother would want to forgive her, etc. Is one of the most like dramatic things I'd ever seen in a trial ever. And it was really one of those heartstring kind of things because it was absolutely sincere, bizarre, but sincere. But now she wants to throw it out. Well, let's find out. An attorney for Amber Geiger, the white former Dallas police officer convicted of killing a black neighbor, Botham Jean. I guess because those things are relevant.
Yes, they're absolutely relevant. She was looking for a black person to kill. She knew exactly where he stayed. She kicked his door down and she shot him because shooting Negroes is fun for cops.
Yeah, and just and I've said this before, but just for clarity, as far as what my thoughts are on this case, I think she honestly fucked up and went to the wrong apartment. Okay, I don't see. There's no logic in my head that she was like, as Satsu just implied. Yeah, today I'm just going to go to the wrong apartment and kill somebody. I don't think that happened. But what I do think happened, if you listen to her testimony in the interview afterwards, and you look at the geography of the apartment that she went to and where he was situated and what was going on there, I think she's honest when she says she went to the wrong apartment and shot somebody, thinking that it was somebody in her apartment. I think that might be true. However, what she said afterwards to me says she was trying to cover her tracks of liability after the fact because the way he was positioned did not match up with what she said. She said the apartment was dark. It wasn't. The guy was on his headphones. He wouldn't have heard her. He was sitting on his couch. He was not standing. There's a whole bunch of things that make me think that after the fact, she was trying to minimize her liability in the situation and try to build up the idea that she had more of a reason to be mistaken about what she was doing. So getting the apartment, I think, honest, ridiculous, brain freeze mistake. Everything after that, not so much.
I'll be right back, Scribbles.
Okay. Let's see. Geiger's defense claims there was insufficient evidence to convict her of murder. The defense has asked the 5th District Court of Appeals in Dallas to either acquit Geiger of that charge or make a finding of criminally negligent homicide, which carries a punishment of 6 months to 2 years, and hold a new hearing on the punishment. John's mother, Allison, told CNN she was confident the appeals court would uphold the murder conviction. Quote, Amber Geiger needs to sit where she is in prison and accept responsibility for what she did to my son, my family, my country, my world, Allison John said in a phone interview Tuesday from her home in St. Lucia. Geiger's lawyer, Michael Maula, argued before the 3-judge appeals court that Geiger's mistaken belief she was in her own apartment negates the, quote, evil intent to kill. A conviction of criminally negligent homicide, he argued, would be more appropriate. Quote, Mr. Maula, you're overlooking the fact that Miss Geiger testified that she intentionally shot Mr. Jean. Chief Justice Robert D. Burns III told the attorney. Burns at one point suggested that Geiger's conviction was in fact supported by the legal precedent raised by the defense. Quote, I'm not overlooking the fact, Your Honor. I agree, Maula responded during the Zoom hearing. Quote, she did intentionally shoot Mr. Jean because that was her intent. That was the truth. Those were the facts of the case. If she had walked into her apartment and there was an intruder inside her apartment, she would have been entitled to use deadly force in self-defense. Yeah, but that wasn't self-defense. And the guy was not armed, and the circumstances were not as literally shadowed as she said they were. Just for reference, she said she opened the door and it was dark and she saw a figure and she thought it was her apartment, etc. Except the guy's TV, big screen TV, was on. So at the very least, even if the lights in the apartment were off, there was light coming from the TV on him sitting on the couch with his ice cream, with his headphones on. So, yeah, no. And she pulled the trigger, and she didn't call for backup, and she didn't take a moment to assess what was going on. Anyway. Quote, intentionally or knowingly killing another human is an evil act, Maula argued Tuesday, and that's what she was convicted of. The problem is that when she entered what she thought was her own apartment, she did not have evil intent. Intentionally or knowingly killing another human is an evil act. When you pull that trigger on that gun and you are trained as a police officer to shoot for center of mass, etc., you're intentionally attempting to kill that person. You don't aim a gun at anything you don't mean to destroy. So I don't think your argument's going to hold up there if that's your argument. The state, represented by Dallas County Assistant District Attorney Douglas Gladden, argued that mistaken belief and mistake of fact is not a justifiable defense. Quote, this is a murder case, not a criminal trespass case. When Amber Geiger shot Botham Jean, she didn't take someone else's property. She took the life of a human being. She didn't make a mistake about that. She knew Botham was a living human being. She pointed a gun at him. She intended to kill him. That's murder. It's not negligent. It's not a mistake of fact. It's not justified, unquote. Let's see. A week of testimony at trial revealed Geiger had had a sexual relationship with her partner on the force and texted him before and after the shooting, including 2 texts sent while she was reporting the shooting to a 911 dispatcher. Her lawyers have said she was tired after working long hours and wasn't paying attention to the many cues that prosecutors said should have tipped Geiger off that she was on the wrong floor in the wrong apartment. Jean's apartment was on the floor above. Geiger testified that she hated herself and asked for forgiveness every day. I think forgiveness might be serving your time. I think it might be. It is a goofy case, but I also think that you lied and tried to change the facts of the circumstances of the shooting. You might have been mistaken in going there. You might have been mistaken and freaked out when you fired on reflex. I don't think it went down the way she says it did. So, anyway, moving on to other things. And I'm going to bring this one up just before we move on to MSS News, because this subject, after a fashion, will come up later in the show, because I have something planned.
I'm back.
Welcome back. Idaho moves to ban critical race theory instruction in all public schools, including universities. Now, that is interesting, given a video I did a while back from Boise State University, where they talked about the controversy of having a black graduation. And they were trying to defend the fact that this isn't a racist situation.
Of course not.
No. Yeah, black graduation. And they were like, no, white people can attend. It was like, why would they? Or was it white people or people who identify as white can attend? It was like, anyway. As some public school districts move towards embracing critical race theory in their curriculums, others, like in Idaho, are doing the opposite. Embracing critical race theory is just such a frightening notion. Idaho lawmakers have advanced a bill that would prohibit public schools, including public universities, from teaching that, quote, any sex, race, ethnicity, religion, color, or national origin is inherently superior or inferior, unquote, which, according to the bill, is often found in, quote, critical race theory, unquote. And that is absolutely true. Critical race theory is academic racism. That's all it is. It's racism with an academic sheen on it. That's it. But taking that out of the equation for a second, prevent universities from teaching that any sex, race, ethnicity, religion, color, or national origin is inherently superior or inferior. That alone should have no pushback from any reasonable person. Anybody who agrees with the foundations of the civil rights movement of the 1960s and the legislation thereafter should have no problem with that notion.
It's weird too, because in order to argue against it, you have to argue no, that's not true. Black people are inferior. Mm-hmm. you have to actively make that argument. If you're like, that's not true, now I'm like, okay, well, explain to me which group is inferior or superior and tell me why.
It also prohibits teachings arguing that, quote, individuals by virtue of sex, race, ethnicity, religion, color, or national origin are inherently responsible for actions committed in the past by other members of the same sex, race, ethnicity, religion, color, or national origin, unquote. God forbid. No pun intended. Critical race theory and teachings like it, quote, exacerbate and inflame divisions on the basis of sex, race, ethnicity, religion, color, national origin, or other criteria in ways contrary to the unity of the nation and the well-being of the state of Idaho and its citizens, unquote. Proponents have argued that students are being indoctrinated. It's very true. Have you ever watched some of this stuff? The bill, HB 377, passed the State House last week and the Senate Monday. It now awaits the governor's signature. Critical race theory has become politicized in recent months.
It has become politicized.
It was never politicized previously, guys. Just so you know, critical race theory taught in schools was never a political movement of any particular type. Yeah, no, just only now. Oh, how many times do we see stuff like this? Like in recent years, in recent months. No, it's always been this way.
I don't know why, but when you read that line, for whatever reason, I pictured somebody taking a sandwich and putting it inside of another sandwich. It's like, just like, I've sandwichified this sandwich. Like, no, it's already the thing. You can't, it's already the thing. It is by nature political. Like, what the fuck do you mean?
Critical race theory has become politicized in recent months, with proponents arguing the area of study is based on Marxism, it is, and a threat to the American way of life, it is. But the study, according to scholars, explores the ways in which a history of inequality and racism in the U.S. have continued to impact American society today.
And that's fine.
Quote, it's an approach to grappling with a history of white supremacy that rejects the belief that what's in the past is in the past.
You reject the belief of reality.
And that the laws and systems that grow from the past are detached from it. Says Kimberly Crenshaw, a founding critical race theorist and law professor at UCLA and Columbia Universities. I did a TEDx featuring Kimberly Crenshaw not too long ago. Her argument and her presentation was absolute garbage. And this wasn't like, in the early days of her theory on critical race theory or intersectional feminism and all that fun stuff. No, or sorry, intersectionality. And she was the creator of intersectionality. This was just a couple of years ago, and she was at the top of her game, and the best that she had was the garbage she put on that TEDx talk. Absolute garbage. She promotes garbage. That's all it is. It's racist, divisive garbage. CNN reached out to Idaho State Representative Julianne Young and Senator Carl Crabtree, both sponsors of the bill, for comment, but did not receive a response. Quote, the passes of HB 377 and the accompanying insinuations about Idaho teachers are very disappointing, said Lane McEnally, president of the Idaho Education Association, in a statement. Quote, this is a monster under the bed problem brought about by a false and misleading narrative that some legislators have willfully conflated. They aim to diminish the public's trust in our teachers and schools just to come back next year and push to privatize education, unquote. Okay, well, I don't know about the privatizing education part, but teachers in schools that promote critical race theory should not be trusted. I don't know what to tell you.
It's so weird that that's even in question, where they're just like, they're trying to diminish the trust in our teachers. Like, are they trying to push critical race theory? Well, yeah. It's like, but so I don't get it. Like, where's the deception?
The bill has become a high-profile issue in the state as dozens of Idaho students and teachers protested peacefully on the steps of the state legislature on Monday before the Senate vote and filled the Senate gallery during the debate. Okay. Quote, "We have a group that's put out public comments that our teachers are brainwashing our children with a liberal leftist indoctrination, and that's simply not true," Idaho State Senator Janie Ward Engelking said during the debate, according to CNN affiliate KIVI.
I mean, sure, the concept in itself is liberal and leftist, but that's not what he said. He said critical race theory.
I would suggest, I would just recommend that Janie Ward Engelking take a look at some of the videos coming out of Boise State University as just an example. Okay. Look at the argumentation done by student leaders at Boise State University in regards to Black graduation and rainbow graduation, and those kind of things, and powwows and so on. All right. And then ask yourself, does that make sense? Does that sound like something that promotes, I don't know, not assessing people on the basis of their race?
Or I don't know, find a group of fucking racists, like just straight up out and out racist. Are you a racist? Yes, I am. And put them in a room and tell them about your plan and what critical race theory endorses and talks about, and watch them be like, fuck yeah, I'm on board. Yeah, keep those darkies away from us. They can have their own graduation.
I'll be unashamed self-promotion here. Representative, watch my playlist called Curriculum of Fear. Just watch a few videos out. Pick any random videos you want out of it and just watch what teachers are pushing these days. Okay? And not just private schools or some sort of specialty thing. Public education, public schools, preschools, high schools, colleges, and see what passes for quote unquote necessary social discourse. And you tell me if that sounds healthy. You tell me if that's not indoctrination. You tell me if teachers these days are not setting themselves up more as gurus for students rather than as educators. Anyway, I could go on, but I've talked about this stuff before, and we have other stories to move on to. So with that, everyone, we're going to move on to the wonderful world of MSS News. If you have news stories you'd like us to read on the air, please send them to us via Twitter using the hashtag MSS News. Can't promise to get to them all. That's only because I have other things planned for this evening. Let's see, that's a video. Can't do that. Oh, God. All right. This one comes from Frosted Glass, if you can believe it. We'll see how long I can stand this stuff. This is from Vice. I was about to say Vox, but no, it's Vice. Why is this big? Go away. Can I make this go away? I think I can make this go away. Here without this. Go away. Can I do that? No. Okay. I'll try to read the headline then. I can't read the headline anymore. Okay, well, anyway, socialism done left is the latest bread tube personality who isn't what they say they are. Most YouTube personalities aren't who they say they are because they usually put on an act or something. Over the weekend, online leftists leaked racist and anti-Semitic Discord messages posted by Socialism Done Left, a YouTuber who does socialism and politics explainers and videos. The messages have started a wider conversation in the BreadTube community about the utility of YouTubers in the broader leftist world. They serve the same utility as anybody putting out their opinion, I guess. I mean, okay. Socialism Done Left is a socialist YouTuber in the broad, loosely categorized group of YouTubers that's been dubbed BreadTube by fans. Did fans call it BreadTube? I thought that was more like people making fun of them.
I still don't even really know where the origin of that comes from.
I heard it one time, a long time ago, and my recollection has something to do with bread lines as exemplified under communism. I think, but I don't know if that's the case. That might have just been a joke someone told me.
I mean, even if it was, it seems like something those weirdos would embrace regardless.
Socialism done left. By the way, I've never heard of this person before. So, but then I don't.
Me neither. So
I don't follow BreadTube or anything. So I don't know. Socialism done left is in the same vein of YouTubers and streamers like Ian Danskin. No idea. And Hassan Piker. Chink's nephew, I think.
Yeah, nephew, I think.
They make political, societal, and economic explainers and videos that have fostered communities on YouTube, Twitch, and Discord to talk about political issues and activism. Okay. While Socialism Done Left nominally pushes for progressive policies, the leaked Discord messages, which include dozens of overtly racist comments about Black people, anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, and Islamophobia, show that the public personas of some BreadTubers are at odds with what they say behind the scenes. Oh my God! Really?
What a shock.
Golly gee whiz, Batman. Are you telling me that people aren't necessarily the same kind of people that they are that they put out publicly? Wow!
Yeah, get any hidden footage of almost any politician you can think of outside of work and listen to their actual opinions about fucking anything. It'll blow your mind, I'm sure.
It has also raised questions about whose side some of these streamers and YouTube personalities are really on. They're on the side of making a buck, probably, mostly. The messages, some of which Socialism Done Left has admitted. Can you just give? Do you know the person? I don't need to know the person's name. Has admitted to posting. Apparently, come from the YouTuber Destiny's Discord channel and were largely made in 2019. Oh, Destiny, who identifies as a liberal, has had his politics come into question when it comes to his stances on Black Lives Matter protests, saying the N-word, capitalism, and popular progressive legislation like the Green New Deal. The utility of broader online debate has also come under scrutiny recently after an awkward and uninformative debate between Destiny and Marxist economist Richard Wolff. The utility of broader online debate. There is always a utility to debate. Even bad debate. I mean, it might be a waste of time, but there's always a utility to it. On the off chance that somebody listening to it might be made aware of or have a conflicting idea put out there that I didn't have before. There's always a utility. There's no question as to the utility of online debate.
Or debate in general.
Or debate in general. Why is there a question? Under scrutiny. What scrutiny? Okay, even if you have an absolute liar, let's say there's somebody... and I'm sure it's a very rare example, somebody who their online public persona is not exactly the same as their personal persona, but they go online onto a Zoom call or a StreamYard or something and have a debate with somebody else about some topic. Well, what is there to scrutinize? The person being dishonest? Well, okay, maybe that has something to do with it. I mean, if they're debating from a position where they say this is what they actually believe and they're found out to be a liar or something, okay, but hey, that's also part of debate too. Or if it's an actual debate, like an Oxford-style debate or something, you don't necessarily have to believe in the side that you're arguing for. You just have to effectively try to argue it regardless. You know, I'm not quite sure. This one guy turns out to be a jerk. Well, okay, as insofar as Vice is saying, because they haven't actually shown us what exactly he said. Okay, so he's a jerk in private when he's not, versus his public persona. Okay, and... Are you going to do that with every YouTuber? Have fun.
The answer is no.
Let's see. Okay. Okay. I'll read the last paragraph because it sounds like the author takes a commentary route. Personally, if you've made edgy jokes about Black people in the last 5 years, I'm not sure you need to be the one to educate others on the politics of the left. You might have more learning to do yourself. What if you made edgy jokes about white people in the last 5 minutes?
Well, they deserve it.
Oh, right. And
yeah. Well, this topic had cropped up again, where somebody was kind of like trying to push the whole "you can't be racist against white people" thing, and it just. I got to the point where I'm just like, okay, so I really need something from you, like person who is trying to explain this thing. What is the point of said explanation. Like every time somebody comes out and says something, you got to, well, actually, you can't be racist against white people. And it's like, okay, what is the purpose of said explanation? Like, what is your goal in telling somebody that? Does it make you feel like less of a piece of shit? Like, does it give you the perception that maybe you are slightly less of a piece of shit than a racist because you can't have the label? Like, what exactly is it that's so important that you feel like you need to come out and mention that? Because it doesn't matter.
And just because you say it doesn't make it true. That's the other thing too. Is it like, you can't be racist against white people? It says who?
Well, I'm pretty much done with having the conversation of whether or not it's true or not, because at this point it's kind of irrelevant. Even if it was completely factual, if somebody came down and said, I am the law, I dictate that this statement be true, and it became true across the land, you still, that, like, if I'm looking at a person who I consider to be a piece of shit because they've displayed racist behavior, because fucking Jesus came down and was like, hey, that person can't be a racist, you don't magically not, like, just morph into not a piece of shit anymore. Like, you're still a fucking piece of shit. You're still scum. You just can't be called racist. So what's the difference? Like, I don't know. I don't know, man. It blows my mind trying to figure out what the fucking motive is here.
All right. Well, this one comes from Sean Uli. Well, I know what the motive is. It's to freely be a racist without having to deal with the consequences.
I guess.
You know, like consequence-free hatred. Let's see. Russian hackers attack DC police computers, threaten to ID informants. What? Russian hackers claim to have stolen sensitive information about informants from police computers in Washington, D.C., threatening to feed it to gangs unless they get paid a ransom. D.C.'s Metropolitan Police Department confirmed Monday that it was, quote, aware of unauthorized access on our server, unquote, and had, quote, engaged the FBI to fully investigate. A new ransomware group called Babuk claimed responsibility, saying in posts on the dark web that it had stolen more than 250 gigabytes of data. Screenshots suggested it had data from at least 4 computers, including intelligence reports, information on gang conflicts, the jail census, and other administrative files. The group gave the police 3 days to get in contact, or, quote, we will start to contact gangs in order to drain the informants, unquote, the report said. The ransom amount was not specified. There was no indication that any police operations were affected. So far this year, 26 government agencies in the U.S. have been hit by ransomware, with cyber criminals releasing online data stolen from 16 of them. Brett Callow of the cybersecurity firm MCSoft told the AP. Babuk, which appears to have only emerged this year, is believed to be the same group behind a ransomware attack on the Houston Rockets. Okay. The Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas said last month that dealing with such groups has become his department's top priority. And that's the end of the story. Okay. Feeding, if they actually have that information, feeding informant information to gangs that would then try to take retaliation on such, that's pretty stupid. Pretty terrible. Oh, somebody's speeding around in my neighborhood. Okay, well, that's a thing that apparently has happened. Oh, no.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no. Massive Dynamics. Oh, this is one of those things that just reading the headline makes my whole body start cringing up a little bit. Here we go. Michigan woman glues eyes shut after mistaking nail glue for eye drops.
Ooh.
That is pretty terrible. Doctors told the woman that her contact lenses likely saved her vision.
Oh, yeah, likely.
Yeah. A Michigan woman nearly lost her vision last week after she mistook a bottle of nail glue for eye drops. The woman, Yasidra Williams, I think I'm saying that correctly, said she went to sleep with her contact lenses in, but woke up at 1 a.m. and wanted to take them out because her eyes were dry. Williams said she reached inside her purse and grabbed what she believed to be eye drops. Instead, Williams took a similarly sized white bottle of nail glue, which she typically uses to repair broken fingernails. Williams was with her husband when she realized the mistake. I was like, oh my goodness, and it dropped in my eye, and I tried to wipe it away, and it sealed my eye shut. I just started throwing cold water and was trying to pull my eyes apart, but I couldn't, and I was just screaming for him to call 911. Williams was rushed to an area hospital where doctors opened her eye and removed her contact lens. Doctors told Williams that her contact lenses likely saved her vision. Quote, they said that contact saved my vision. They kept saying, you'll probably lose your lashes, which I did because they had to pull on it and flip the top of my lid. Dr. George Williams of Beaumont Health explained that if you ever get anything in your eye, you should immediately try and flush it out by using a nearby faucet or bottle of water. He noted that it will make a mess, but, quote, you may save your vision. If it's any comfort to her, she's not the first person to have made this mistake, he added. In 2015, a Florida woman, Katie Gatos, glued her eye shut after a friend accidentally handed her fingernail glue instead of Visine. The mishap occurred after a leaf blower caused a piece of debris to land in her eye. Quote, it stuck to my eyelids and my eyeball, and it really hurts, she said at the time. Well, what happened to her? Did she? Okay, well, that happened. They don't tell us, like, what the result was, but okay.
Moral of the story, stop wearing fake nails.
Yeah, and don't put gorilla glue in your hair.
There you go.
Let's see. This one comes from we already did Massive Dynamics. Apologies. Because Massive Dynamics has like 2 different accounts, so I get kind of confused. We already did Frosted Glass. Okay, this one comes from Tall Person. Tall person. Let's see. Okay. A North Carolina city. Whoa. What? Dutch? What? BusinessInsider.nl. Okay, so I'm getting the Nederlander version of. Okay. A North Carolina city council fired a man for white privilege and entitlement after he refused to address a black woman by her professional title. Oh, yeah, I think I read this on Twitter the other day. The city council in Greensboro, North Carolina, fired a volunteer who worked as the city's zoning commissioner after he repeatedly refused a black woman's calls to address her by her professional title during a Zoom meeting. The council, in a unanimous vote on Tuesday, decided to remove Tony Collins, a construction contractor, from the zoning commission after he, during a virtual meeting, refused to address Carrie Rosario, a UNC Greensboro professor with a doctorate in public health, as Dr. Rosario. Really? According to the report, during the April 19th meeting, Collins, who is white, entered a terse exchange with Rosario over the way he addressed her during the virtual meeting. According to the report, the interaction occurred toward the end of the meeting when Rosario raised concerns about a proposed development project near her home. Collins told her that the discussion was off topic and referred to her as Mrs. Rosario. It's Dr. Rosario, thank you, sir, Rosario said. If Mrs. Rosario has something, Collins responded. Dr. Rosario, she repeated. Well, I'm sorry, Collins said. Your name says on here, Carrie Rosario. Hey, Carrie. It's Dr. Rosario, Rosario repeated. I wouldn't call you Tony, so please, sir, call me as I would like to be called. Collins dismissed Rosario and said it didn't matter. It matters to me, she said, and out of respect, I would like you to call me by the name that I'm asking you to call me by. But Collins continued to push back. Rosario told McClatchy News that she had previously corrected another council member during the call who apologized and corrected himself. She said she viewed Collins' repeated refusal to call her by her title, quote, a personal attack of disrespect, unquote. In the council meeting Tuesday, Councilwoman Sharon Hightower said that Collins was exhibiting, quote, white privilege and entitlement during the exchange. I don't know if cranky old man now equates to white privilege and entitlement.
Well, this is one of those situations that could very well be, one or the other. You have to, we have to had been there for the call.
Yeah.
Seen how he addressed everybody else, if he specified or singled her out, or if he called everybody else by not whatever their title was supposed to be. There's a couple things you have to look at first and look at contextually before you can come to that conclusion. Because looking at the situation at face value, there's there's no real reason to believe that there's absolutely no chance he wasn't just being a racist asshole, because it's possible. But I don't think there's enough. I don't think there's enough here to just call that right away.
Hightower made the motion at the Tuesday meeting to remove Collins from his position on the zoning commission. Quote, "It's not going to be tolerated," she told McClatchy News. Quote, "As a black female, I am not going to see another black female treated in this manner," unquote.
Well, what was the race and sex of the other person who he didn't address properly?
I don't know. The Rhino Times reported that Collins apologized Thursday in an email to the members of the Greensboro City Council. Quote, "I understand from published reports that you voted Tuesday evening to remove me from the Greensboro Zoning Commission because of my behavior at the Zoning Commission meeting Monday evening. I agree with you that my exchange with Dr. Rosario was out of line and accept your judgment to remove me from the commission. I have telephoned Dr. Rosario and left a message apologizing for my behavior." Quote, "There is no excuse for my interaction with Dr. Rosario, so I will not try to offer one," he added. "Citizens deserve better." Okay. I mean, it's an interesting, again, like Satsu said, I guess you'd had to have been there, I suppose, but it's an interesting jump to say that because he was being an ornery jerk, therefore he was also being a white, privileged, entitled
and look,
whatever.
I will never argue the fact that he wasn't being an asshole, because he definitely was being an asshole. You know, especially if that was like a professional call, it was a professional setting. It wasn't unreasonable for her to ask to be called by the title that she went to school and apparently earned. So, you know, whatever, it is what it is. Why even fucking rock the boat like that for no reason? But once again, we find ourselves in a situation where they're like, there's only one conclusion, and this could be the only conclusion. Context, not necessary. Just believe that it's this thing. And I'm like, well, I need a little more than that.
You can't just be an asshole anymore. Maybe that's the biggest problem right now. You can't just be an asshole. There always has to be something else behind it.
Yeah,
you also have to characterize the person's thought process and ideology beyond the moment. So, like, yeah, you're an asshole right now, but in addition to that, you're also someone who follows an ideology of racial supremacy, because the person you're being an asshole to is of one race or another. We're just going to jump to that conclusion. Now, again, I don't know this guy's mind. I can't read his mind. It's entirely possible that he was being a racist. I don't know. But all the same, can we all just be assholes now? Can we just be assholes again? Thank you, Native. D-Bag doesn't get along with B-word news. Yeah.
Ginger says, I will never call somebody with a PhD a doctor.
I see. Depends on the context. It seems to me that is a term of respect, and these days, especially after watching as many TEDx's as I have, whenever somebody comes out on a stage and it says that they are Doctor this or PhD, my first question is always, Doctor of what? All right, Doctor of Feminist Theory to me is like, oh God. So if someone is at like a hearing or something and they're giving professional expert testimony on the subject at hand, no doubt, doctor, what? Fine, perfectly fine. In most other contexts or otherwise, I mean, it does me no harm if someone wants to be called doctor for the sake of a meaningless interaction, but somebody gets all like up in your face about it. I'm kind of like, okay.
Well, yeah, and I get that too. But like I said, there's so many questions. Was everybody else on that call addressing you as doctor, or did you just demand that he do it? Had anybody else, either mistakenly called you?
Oh, they said one person had mistakenly not used the title. She corrected them, and then they apologized and continued using it correctly.
Well, see, and then that's what I'm saying. So it's, I don't know.
Again, in a formal setting, I don't see the problem really. But if I'm just sort of like in casual conversation or somebody that's doctor, like, fuck you.
Right.
like I don't know, like I have no reason to just automatically respect you because you've got a PhD in something. It's like, okay, you went to a lot of school, yay. I don't know, is it relevant to the conversation or something? Is it anyway? Could talk more, but guys, we're going to call that there for stories. Thank you so much for all the news stories and everything. Sorry to get to them all, but them's the breaks, as it were. Let's move on briefly to YouTube time. First up, I just want to highlight the fact, the rare instance that Ranting Monkey posted not one, but two relatively scripted videos in one day today.
Oh, damn.
He did and resurrected Dear Dumbass twice today.
Oh, shit.
So just want to point that out. And if you haven't already taken a look, I assume most of you probably have. But if you haven't, go check out Ranting Monkey's channel after this show and see his two new Dear Dumbass videos. They're pretty good. Thank you, Okinabe, again. Can't write me a prescription, not calling you doctor. At the most, I'll settle for professor or the title of doctor of insert not medical degree, unquote. Yeah, again, it all depends on context. It all depends on like the situation. If you're in a professional setting, like Satsu says, there's no harm, I guess, in saying so, right? Because like in that thing, it's like if somebody had called him, what were they on, like the zoning board commission, right? Mm-hmm. If he had been Commissioner Collins, mm-hmm. right? Of course, that's perfectly fine. And if somebody is participating in a professional capacity, all right, address them by their professional title. Not a big deal. No harm done. Whatever. Even if someone's got an attitude about it, just be the bigger person, do it, and move on with your life.
Yeah, like why even create a scenario like that for yourself?
Right.
And that's the part of it. It's like what you see now, what that led to. So I don't understand why you felt it was even worth it to even.
Yeah. Now in casual conversation,
of course,
professional setting, if somebody's going to be like, and it's like, oh, and by the way, this is Mr. Jones. That's Dr. Jones. So how are you doing, Mr. Jones? Like, yeah, that'd be fine by me.
This here's Lieutenant Dan.
Lieutenant Dan. All right. Well, military officers, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, almost always you get that sort of flat. Like you put your life on the line to protect the citizenry of this country. You will always have your rank in front of your name. Somebody says, I'm Sergeant, blah, blah, blah. Like, yes, Sergeant, that kind of thing. But
unless you're talking to somebody fresh out of college, then.
Yeah. Or somebody that anyway. But yeah, no, if I might be a little bit biased with as many military members have been in my family. But anyway, as far as YouTube time for me, finished up the theme for tonight's show, which was Back to the Future 3, and having myself, Satsu, and Squishy on the thumbnail. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I haven't figured out what I'll do for Thursday's show, but I'm sure I'll come up with something. I'm delving back into 80s movies lately. Other than that, oh God, I haven't done anything today. Still getting a lot of good feedback on my Falcon and Winter Soldier finale review and the previous ones too. A lot of people seem to be up on that, more so than most anything else I've done. So I appreciate all that attention. And I've got some choice TEDx's for Thursday. Oh boy. Won't. I have to decide which one I want to do because I've got since I only do one a week now and TEDx never stops posting, I have quite the library of things I could light upon, but there's one in particular that caught my eye yesterday, and I think I might do that one. We'll see, though, and I'll let you guys know as that proceeds. I think that's all my YouTube stuff. Satsu, what kind of YouTube stuff you got?
Well, I uploaded a video today responding to the new Monster Hunter content that's coming out tomorrow, because Monster Hunter. Although I guess technically some people are like, well, it's not new because COVID and they were supposed to have released this with the full game, so it's not really new. And I'm like, shut up. I didn't play it before. It wasn't in the game when it came out, so it's fucking new. I mean, COVID is a bitch, man. It has delayed a whole bunch of stuff. It has halted a lot of stuff. It has completely shut down quite a few things. So that's the reality of our situation. I'm going to celebrate new content if I ain't played it yet. So added a bunch of monsters, up the HR cap, give you more shit to do. There's more things to kill and more gear to make. So I'm probably going to be I don't know. I may or may not do a stream afterwards. If not tonight, it's definitely going to be tomorrow. I'm gonna do a stream tomorrow and play some of this new content, fight some of the new monsters on here. Otherwise, still got some videos in the queue on the gaming channel that'll be coming out at their scheduled time. And I have an idea for what my next cooking video is gonna be. I have a surplus of potatoes that I need to do something with. I'm like, I think I need to start another potato because there's a few things that I've been wanting to make that I think would be interesting if I did make. So I might do something with that pretty soon. So be on the lookout for that. Otherwise, I almost made a video on my Satsu 2 Cents channel today too, because of that whole we can't be racist thing, that I don't know. It was going to be like a skit though. Like it wasn't going to be like a full blown video. It was going to be like the, you remember the video that I put up, the, God damn it. What is it? What was it? It was about that term that they kept that phrase that they kept using all the time. No, widespread. Widespread.
Widespread. Yeah. Widespread fraud. Yeah.
It was going to be kind of in that nature because that one got a pretty good reception. It was very short, sweet, and to the point. And I was thinking about doing something else like that. It might still happen though, because this is a topic that really fucking every time it comes up, I'm just like, I need an outlet for this because it infuriates me greatly. So we'll see. But that's pretty much what I've been up to.
Well, it's kind of a shame that infuriates you greatly.
Yeah.
Because, I thought instead of fucketry today, we'd indulge in a video.
Is it about what I was just talking about?
Tangentially. This is a 5-minute video from our friends at the National Association of Independent Schools. I know the title, but I haven't watched it. Are you ready, Satsu?
No. No, I'm not.
That's the perfect scenario. All right. So I'll start off with a few seconds if you can hear. I do know it starts out, I did check the sound to make sure it wasn't terrible. It starts out very quiet and the music ramps up a little bit. So let me know if you can hear it and then we'll...
Well, real quick,
yes.
Disclaimer before you start.
Yes.
I'm going to try to stay muted and not comment and let you do the commentary during this because we won't get through any of it if I go off. So,
well, no, you say what you want to say. The whole point of this is for us to critique it. So if you don't want to, that's fine. But I'm not bringing this up with you here because I just want to talk to myself the whole time.
Well, I'm going to try not to rant. How's that? I'll keep my comments brief because I want to be able to get through some of this and not, Well,
we have the better part of half an hour, so we'll be fine. We'll be fine. Right. All right, here we go. You hear that?
Yeah.
Okay. Now here's the title for those of you listening at home: Redefining Time in Traditionally White Independent Schools, Debunking the Excuse that Change Must Be Slow. Now, what does that mean? I have no idea, but it sure caught my attention when I saw it. One more time. Redefining time in traditionally white independent schools. Is this like that TEDx I watched where it was like the lady said time has a race?
I don't know, but...
I don't know either.
I'm already annoyed.
All right, here we go.
The idea that social inclusion has always been up to white people to give access to rights or to spaces that Black and brown folks should have had access to from the beginning. And so a lot of what we talk about is time as this myth or this excuse almost is why independent schools can't seem to lean into the progress that we talk about actively wanting.
But okay, that all came to me very quickly.
Mm-hmm. It sounded like she was already in the middle of talking about something when they started.
Yeah, the way these things are structured sometimes are all over the place. Okay, so let me back up a little bit here because I want to get her title in just for reference's sake. Her name is Chilea Googie or Gouge?
Gouge.
I don't know. Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at Beauvoir National Cathedral Elementary School, DC. Or Beauvoir? Okay. Anyway, it's an independent elementary school, I'm assuming. So and check me on this. I think she was saying that white schools shouldn't have the excuse of taking time to implement diversity and inclusion.
Yeah, she's trying to get rid of the notion that it's a slow process and it needs to, it has to be done over time. And she's like, no, we need to get a steamroller and roll that shit down. And she said it's just an excuse that they're making, is that it takes time. And so she's going to debunk that excuse.
Okay, I'll play it one more time just for reiteration, just for the sake of it.
The idea that social inclusion has always been up to white people to give access to rights or to spaces that Black and brown folks should have had access to.
Okay, so white people are the gatekeepers of what Black and brown folks have access to. Okay.
From the beginning. And so a lot of what we talk about is time as this myth or this excuse almost is why independent schools can't seem to lean into the progress that we talk about actively wanting.
See, I always thought, and especially after watching all these videos, I thought independent schools were functionally more instantly progressive than public schools.
Well, they have more leeway to be, right?
I suppose, so you wouldn't know it sometimes looking at some of the public school teachers that I've looked at before, where they're just kind of like, we implemented this system because it was more equitable. Like, okay.
Well, it's weird too, because what is progress? Chances are, if we've talked to these people before, it's like, well, they had these Black people kind of segregated in this situation and they had limited rights and they couldn't really do anything. We're trying to fix that by making it white kids instead. And it's like, you say progress? Is that what you said? Progress? Okay, because that don't sound like progress to me. That sounds like a reversal. So.
And how social inclusion and the history of that and what it's looked like historically, from integration to LGBTQ plus IA rights, all of those things have been dependent on when those in the dominant culture decide we're allowed access to them.
Well, yeah, because those in the dominant culture in every country on the planet decides what happens. That's how it works, typically. Yeah,
the laws, the dominant thinking, society changing. Yeah, it requires the majority to change their minds for change to take place.
Yeah, Wakanda.
I mean, I don't know how else you'd imagine that it would happen.
Yeah.
Right? Like a small minority of the population thinks that things should be different in the whole of society. Well, you know what? They might be right. They might be correct, morally, ethically, or otherwise, in their thinking. The problem is, unless or until that idea is accepted by the majority of society, change will not be made. That's why you have legitimate movements for progress or change, is you have to change people's minds and hearts. That's how it works. So, but she's not talking about the majority. She's talking about a particular majority based on race, not based on, the evolution of a society's beliefs and virtues.
Yeah,
right?
and if it was based on that particular majority that she was talking about exclusively, and those were the only people who held that view, we wouldn't still be here. Like, change would have came a long time ago, but that's not the case.
Excuse me. So, first card. What does it mean to make the shift from ally to accomplice?
I don't like this terminology.
Okay, well, do tell me, what is the difference in this context between an ally and an accomplice? Because when I think of accomplice, I think of someone participating in a crime. But also, which is the better one? Is it better to be an ally or an accomplice?
Also, we were taught that you could never really get on that. Like, accomplice suggests that you are somehow on equal footing You know,
Maybe, yeah,
like
kind of.
it kind of suggests that you got two parties that are both equally involved in this thing.
Okay. Here's my prediction of what the difference is. I'm gonna take my long hard-won wisdom. Ally is rhetorical. Accomplish is action. That makes sense. So, like,
Sure.
if I speak the words of support for something, I'm an ally. But until I actually put my body on the line in some way, shape, or form, I'm not an accomplice. That's my guess. If she even gets to the point of defining these things. Boy, this goes on a while.
Ally to me
Yeah.
is someone who understands the significance of diversity, equity, and inclusion and justice, and who understands the importance of the work. But
the work. It's always about the work.
But also sees the relationship and connection to DEI as something mutually beneficial. An accomplice.
No, DEI is not about mutual beneficiality. It's about equity, which is about everybody gets the exact same thing, even if somebody else might be, by merit, either more or less worthy of getting something.
Yeah.
It's not about being mutually beneficial. It's about being mutually resultant.
Yeah.
Or at least by rhetoric saying so, even though that's not usually the case by the end result of it.
Beneficial. An accomplice is someone who's alongside, on the ride, to make the shift.
Alongside, on the ride. Yeah, I think I had it pretty much right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Side, on the ride. To make the shift from ally to accomplice means taking off that badge of being a good one.
What?
Yeah, I knew it.
Oh shit!
Oh, dude.
Oh,
yes.
wow.
Look, you are an ally. As long as you're an ally, as long as you think that you're a good person. You upgrade to accomplice once you admit that you're scum and prostrate yourself to us. Then you become an accomplice, because once you realize that no matter what you do, no matter how good you think you are, that you are just evil by default, then now you're on board. There you go. Once we've beaten you into submission and you've prostrated yourself to us in slavery, then yes, now you're an accomplice.
Yeah,
you fucking dog you.
Good one of what, may I ask? Yeah, what she didn't say, but my imagination runs rampant here. A good one what? I can only wonder, right?
Being a good one. The post is wonderful to retweet or to regram. However, are you standing alongside in the hallways when things happen? Are you calling out that colleague when things are happening? So we're trying to move the conversation from one that's a bit more actionable and less performative.
Yeah, you got it right on the fucking nose.
Yeah. And it's not. And by the way, it's not a conversation; it's a dictate.
Yeah, it's not a conversation. They don't have any say in it at all.
Yeah. There's no mutual exchange going on here. It is either you're acting in the way that we approve of to qualify you as an accomplice, or you don't.
Yeah,
that's it.
Listen and obey and behave, and make sure that you do it in the way that we deem, acceptable.
Sometimes it looks like being quiet. Sometimes it looks like putting yourself in a position to elevate and advance the voice of the person of color.
Because the person of color can't speak for themselves on their own 2 feet.
Show yourself to be actionable by shutting the fuck up when you know you should shut the fuck up.
Yeah, because if someone of a particular skin color is talking, it's not your turn to talk.
Exactly. Very similar to another group of people who used to treat their accomplices that way.
Yes.
It always means being humble. It always means being self-aware.
Yeah.
Perpetually humble. I am so sorry.
What do you know about being humble, lady?
I'm so sorry. Okay.
And I saw an example of this week, actually. I was in an organization, social, where the ED, the executive director for the organization, wanted to share some updates with the community, what was happening.
Okay.
Instead of sharing those updates himself, those updates were shared by the 2 Black women that were actively doing the work. Moving from allyship to accomplishment is acknowledging who's been doing the work, because DEI work is not new. It is new to white people.
Okay, so the guy in the first instance, the guy let the people who are actually involved in the thing going on speak, but that was significant only because of the speaker's skin color. It wasn't because of the actual merit of what they did. It was significant because of their skin color. Okay.
Moral of the story, he knew his place. And that's what we're trying to instill in you. You need to know your place, Toby.
Yeah, and in the other instance here, never before has any white person ever done anything to advance equity or equality in this country or promote diversity. Never, ever before.
No, it's totally new to any white people that they bring into their flock.
I'm going to back up just a couple of seconds.
Accomplishment is acknowledging who's been doing the work, because DEI work is not new. It is new to white people. And I think that's something that we often forget. And it,
I wish I could forget, but I keep being reminded over and over again just how deficient I am on the basis of my skin color. So it's kind of hard to get there. Kind of hard to get there.
Something that Black and brown and queer educators have been doing historically in our classrooms.
Are any of those queer educators white by any chance?
If they are, then they don't count.
Okay.
In our school buildings, and it is just becoming important to the dominant community.
The dominant community. Yeah, monolith. Also, never before has anyone done anything to advance equality. What am I saying? We're not talking about equality.
No,
we're not talking about equality.
Well, we're talking about. Could you imagine if the concept of equity was applied to like sports, where they're just like, okay, that team got a touchdown now. You're not allowed to score again until the other team does. So we're going to keep playing and keep throwing plays. And no matter how many interceptions or whatever happens, you cannot cross that line until the other team does on their side. And then you get to score again, and then they get to go. And the game doesn't end until the score is even. So that way, everybody wins.
Oh, no. I mean, we'll split the difference. It's like every time one side scores, both sides get a point.
Yeah.
There you go. And then they never have to worry about it.
Yeah. And that way, everybody can get rewarded for trying.
Yep.
Unless you're white, then you get a little less than a point.
Yeah, big blue ribbons. Thanks for participating.
And so what does it mean to elevate those voices and to give credit for ideas, for processes, to invite people to the table?
How about just doing that on the basis of the ideas and the participation and the effort, and not put race as a factor?
Look, you can do all those things. You can give credit. You can bring people to the table. You can embrace ideas and push all that shit on simply merit alone. You can do all those things without specifying and singling out race. You can. It's possible.
But merit is a myth.
Which is fascinating to me, how merit is somehow a myth when she's just saying that dude was somehow virtuous for putting forth those people for the things that they did, because they were the ones doing the work, so they should be the ones to speak about it. That's pretty close to talking about merit, I think.
And then to step away. And so I think at a lot of schools, there are a lot of people who can talk about DEI and who can communicate, I am an ally. But I am more interested as a Black woman in independent schools for people who are going to walk alongside me, and when necessary, go in front of me, and when necessary, stand beside me or behind me.
How many meat shields do you require?
See, and this is the fundamental problem with this, because if we're talking about putting people on equal footing, getting to a point to where people are treated equally no matter what, which is the goal that they pretend they have. And I really, really put emphasis on the word pretend, because based on what she just said, it's fairly obvious, because anybody who's on equal footing with another person wouldn't even entertain a discussion about when it's time for you to be in front of me or behind me. That wouldn't even be a discussion. That person is by your side at all times.
And in front of you, like what, to take the first hit behind you because you need to be the one out front? What? Yeah, conflicting analogies here. It's just like, I hope she goes into more depth. What do you mean in front of you? What do you mean behind you? And who, what kind of person should be in front of you? And what kind of person should be behind you? And on and on and on.
And there's nothing wrong with being an ally. There's nothing wrong with starting in a space of educating yourself.
But, right, do we have a but coming?
And becoming more knowledgeable about the issues that are facing people on the margins within our communities.
But
at some point, it has to transition into I'm actively pursuing justice within my school. I'm actively standing up for people within my community. I'm actively elevating the voices.
And their community? You're not allowed to do that because she's not saying white people, but she means white people. So when you say they're actively standing up for people in their community, that means they're actively standing up for other white people. And you're not allowed to do that.
Unless she actually is using the word community in the correct way and talking about just, the immediate surrounding people that you interact with and live with, etc.
Well, they're not included in that, though. Based on their rhetoric, they're not a part of their community. Even if they live in that neighborhood, remember, they are completely unaffected by any negativity that happens in that area by virtue of being white alone. So even if she probably meant that, but there's no way that she could have, because based on their rhetoric, that doesn't make any sense.
Standing up for people within my community. I'm actively
within my community.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to parse the words here because you're right. It's very difficult to try to tell when things are being conflated or used correctly, and that's kind of the trick, isn't it?
That is the trick.
Yeah.
Elevating the voices of Black and Indigenous people of color within my space.
Within my space? Oh my God. Well, I guess that takes care of that. Oh, sorry. I know, bad joke.
And that to me is the biggest difference.
Next card. How can schools move progress along and debunk the excuse that change must be slow? I don't know. How can schools do that? How can schools flip a light switch and make everybody act in the way that you want them to without any discussion or adjustment? Do tell. Long pause.
So in terms of what institutions can be doing to move progress along, is requiring that faculty and staff do this internal work.
Requiring that faculty and staff do this internal work. So they have to change their minds. It's not about just following policy or something. They have to adjust their thinking. Okay.
I think a lot of the expectation from the larger community is to create an inclusive community, right? But if I'm not actively working on myself and I'm not actively processing how race and how sexism and homophobia and how all of these different identities, for example,
What?
I just realized something.
Uh-oh.
You ever notice that with these people, introspection, self-reflection, all that stuff are like the pinnacle of everything that white people need to do in order to fix anything. But whenever they're talking about problems that involve them and their community and issues that they have, that is never a topic of discussion. Never. It never comes up. You don't hear a word about self-reflection, introspection, looking at yourself and trying to figure out what it is you're doing and how you're contributing to whatever those problems are. It is not even it's not even a factor. But it's at the forefront of every conversation when it comes to other people. That just hit me just now.
Are showing up in my life, then I can't be an inclusive teacher in my classroom.
I gotta back up a little bit. I think I'm back up a little bit.
But if I'm not actively working on myself and I'm not actively processing how race and how sexism and homophobia and how all of these different identities, for example, are showing up in my life, then I can't be an inclusive teacher in my classroom. And so I think the way that we begin moving things forward is by requiring that professional development connected to diversity, equity, and inclusion for individual teachers be built into our actual evaluation processes.
Okay, first off, and I know I've never said this before. Race is not an identity. Gender is not an identity. Sexual orientation is not an identity. None of these things say anything about who you are. They only reflect aspects of what you are. So in mandating that faculty and staff start assessing the world themselves and their students first and foremost on quote unquote identities, no.
And she said, tie that to their academic progression. Like them moving up through the company needs to be tied directly with how accurately they treat specific races of people, how they mandate they should be treated.
Yeah.
It's oh my God, that is insane.
We will approach more equality, and even in some respects, if you're talking about the actual definition, more equity, when we start shedding the idea that irrelevancies matter. It sounds contradictory in and of itself, but unfortunately that's where we are. Because I'm told over and over and over again that I have to assess the world and the people around me on the basis of things that are irrelevant to knowing someone's character or assessing someone's merit, etc. The longer that we see people, especially people in positions of education and authority, continue to tell me and everybody else that first and foremost, we have to acknowledge and respect these quote unquote identities. They are not identities. They're not. The longer that I hear that, the more cringed I get about it.
Well, they're not in reality, but they are to racists. And that's one point I want people to focus on. Race, sex, and all that shit or whatever, especially race and skin color. Those things are important to people who are either prejudiced or racist. That's who those are the people who identify with this narrative and can sync with it. You can always point these people out specifically, like, is this person racist or prejudiced? I don't know. Try to ask them what they feel about the skin color of this person, or what kind of presumptions do they have about the skin color of that person? Because I guarantee they do, because that is an identity for them.
Yeah. I mean, assess me on the basis of what you see without any other information. Tell me what you know of my character.
Yeah. Show them a picture of just random white dude number 8,962. No information, no nothing. Don't put any clothes on him. Like, cut his fucking hair off and make him bald. Just show her a picture of a white male and say, what do you think about this person? Tell me what kind of assumptions you can make about this individual by looking at him. And I guarantee she'll come up with a whole shopping list of fucking racist and prejudiced bullshit about how his life is super easy, how everything is easy coming to him, how he's never had to have a discussion about this, that, and the other. I'm like, it's easy for you to do that. Why? Because you're a fucking racist. That's why.
Yeah, and that would, and honestly, in isolation, in a vacuum, that'd be fine. I don't really care if someone is a racist. They can be a racist off in their own whatever. But we're not talking, that's not the issue here. The issue here is this person is in charge of educating children and guiding faculty, staff, school administration, and so on, and in embedding it with this ideology that is inherently divisive, inherently racist, and dumbs down human interaction to the lowest common denominators of assumption and assessment. And anyway, we only got another minute or so.
So that it's no longer, we have an expectation for a foundation of knowledge from our teachers and from our community members.
I got to back up. I'll give more context, so let's back up a couple seconds more.
That I can't be an inclusive teacher in my classroom. And so I think the way that we begin moving things forward is by requiring that professional development connected to diversity, equity, and inclusion for individual teachers be built into our actual evaluation processes, so that it's no longer, we have an expectation for a foundation of knowledge from our teachers and from our community members. And if that's there, then not only can they be held accountable for when those moments happen and they don't actively support their students.
They'll be held accountable on the basis of towing the thought line on this.
Yeah. So if any student comes up to them on any given day and says, you know what? I feel like Billy's going to be my target today. Yeah, Billy's racist. I was going to sit down in that chair. He sat down in it first. You need to actively address this right now.
Yeah. And the teacher doesn't respond or says you're being nonsensed or whatever. Oh, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that easy. It's that
They
simple.
also feel secure and supported and affirmed in what they do know, so that they can proactively process, how do I engage this tough issue or tough topic with
You don't want to engage tough issues or tough topics. You want everything simplified down to, are you saying the things I want you to say? Are you behaving in the way that I want you to behave? And are you assessing people correctly, and yourself, by the way? Because if you have a teacher who's white, are you doing the most introspection you can to get yourself in line with our thinking?
Yeah. Have you acknowledged the fact that you are a piece of shit by default, and understand that when you are addressing your superiors? I mean, black students.
Yeah, I hate to tell you this, but racism is not hard work.
It's not. It's
really not hard work.
It's super easy.
Yeah, there's no effort to it. There's no hard work to it. There's no complication to it. That's the thing. You take away nuance when you start thinking this way. You might wrap it up in some kind of like administrative gobbledygook academia, but you're not doing anything. You're not creating anything. You're destroying things. You're destroying relationships by introducing everything down to its most base components of, is this person's race and their attitude towards this race or that race the correct one in my estimation?
tough issue or tough topic within my space or in my hallway or in the dining hall.
What?
So I think that
The dining hall? I could make a bad comment here, but I won't.
that is one way very practically that institutions can use professional development to ask people to begin doing the internal work.
Yeah, you can use their jobs being at risk to shape them into the ideological slaves you want them to be.
Mm-hmm.
You can hold over their heads their professional credit, their future in their profession, in order to get them to do what you want them to do. Yeah, you can do that. It's very easy to do that, to threaten somebody's livelihood in order to get them to say and behave in the way you want them to when they are powerless before the inquisition that you've created for yourself.
Yeah. How many white people do you think back in all these businesses and institutions and stuff, back when racism was just kind of, well, not racism, but, you know, like slavery was just ending and everything. And people who thought this whole thing was ridiculous, but were just towing the line when they wanted to hire people that were black, or they wanted to interact with people that were black, or spend time or be in the inner circle. What do you think those leaders of those racist groups did and said to those people, and held over their heads whenever they tried to mingle with those others? What do you think the process was there? I wager it was very similar.
I know who I'd ask. James Carville. And that's it. That's it. All right. Well, there you go, everyone. Your dose of educational enlightenment for today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Our diversity, equity, and inclusion officer at Bouvor Catholic or whatever Cathedral Elementary School or whatever in DC. So anyway, that being said, everyone, it is question time. If you've got questions, comments, concerns, complaints, conspiracy theories, if you have thoughts on the video we just watched, put them in the chat now. If you have questions for us directly, please put plenty of chat marks after those. If you have statements for us to consider, please put plenty of statement marks after those. If you didn't like my playing that video, not because, you didn't like the diversion, but, you actually hated the fact that I did it, let me know that too, because, I kind of do this because I think it's occasional to change it up a little bit from time to time. Let's see. Frosticle asks, Scribe, what other writers of Lovecraft's style and era would you recommend? Robert E. Howard, obviously, his Conan stories and his Hyborian Age stories and everything are very good. I haven't read as much of his Kull the Conqueror stories, but the Conan stories are very classic. Technically, if you read Psycho by Robert Bloch, because Robert Bloch was a contemporary, or at least a correspondent with Lovecraft. God, who else? Was it Robert Chambers? I can't remember. So my memory is suddenly failing me on who was in the correct era for him. But anyway, yeah. So those are the couple that come to mind. Let's see. Cannibalistic Wizard. Donut holes wrapped with bacon. See, I know that a lot of people love the whole everything wrapped with bacon thing. And I guess in some instances, I wouldn't mind it so much, but it just seems a little bit obsessive to me times, you know? Anyway, donut holes wrapped with bacon and smoked, then filled with caramel and covered in chocolate. No. Grilled pork sausage on a roll with cheese and a glass of milk. No. That's too much. Too much.
Yeah, too much.
Let's see. Dr. Keeve, what is the most annoying color? The most annoying color? I don't know what you'd call it. It was used on like there was a building near where I lived that had this paint job when I was a kid, and it was like this yellowish mustard, but also kind of greenish color. I mean, it looked like nausea as a color. If you could think of being nauseous as a color, that's what it looked like to me. And so whenever I see it, which isn't very often, but whenever I see something like it, I kind of get like, ugh. I guess that's annoying. I guess I could be like actually bringing these comments up. I guess I could do that. Pyrus Creed. Have you reset the number of days since Monkey made a video counter yet? As far as I know, that doesn't exist. I know you brought that up before, but I don't think there is one. Thank you, Keldrig. How dare you judge people by their merits and not superficial, insignificant physical characteristics? I know, right? Gosh, I'll have to run over to James Carville for protection now. I guess I can't be a teacher at one of these schools. Oh, no. The Useless Rebel, a movie you loved but will never watch again. Oh, that I'll never watch again? Well, I mean, there are movies that are difficult to watch again, but like the one that always comes to mind is Usual Suspects, because once you know the twist, it kind of makes watching the movie again fairly pointless. But movie I love that I'll never watch again. I can't think of a reason why I'd never watch a movie I love again. I mean, I don't, I don't like rotate through all the movies I love once a year or something, but so Satsu, do you have the movie you love but you'll never watch again?
That probably applies to most movies I love, because a lot of the movies I can think of that I really loved and enjoyed, I never saw again. I mean, watched it one time.
The circumstance I could see where that'd be the case is if something happened that is sentimentally tied to that movie that makes it like unattractive to watch, like Grim Dawn, right? The game Grim Dawn. That was the game I was playing when my eye exploded, and I had my little stroke in my eye, and so I've played it since then. But all the same, I still got that weird, like, sort of hesitancy. It's like, because it's a little psychological thing now. And so I love the game, but I'm not as inclined to just run back to it all the time. Also on the fact that I've also played like several hundred hours of it. So it's like, I think I've played that game through and through every time. But every time they release an expansion, I start all over again. So who knows? Let's see. Mr. Yes Scribe, have you tried jambalaya? Yes, I've had at least one kind of it before. I believe I had that down. Well, I mean, I did have it down in New Orleans the last time I went. And I remember it being pretty good. So I've had jambalaya, but not out of a can. So I've had actual jambalaya before. So have you had jambalaya?
Yes, I made jambalaya on my channel, Fam 2 Cents. Go check it out.
There you go. Search the word jambalaya on Satsu's Fam 2 Cents channel, and you can find a recipe.
It was a viewer's request, too.
Oh, my gosh. Ebony Williams, a good but overrated song or movie? Oh, good but overrated movie. Is Squishy whispering in the background?
She's saying tell Scribbles I said hi.
Well,
But
I
she's
can
whispering.
hear her.
Exactly. That's what
She
I'm
could
saying.
just say hello.
I just told her just say hello. Just this is Lords of the Night.
Interrupting me is just the way of the world, and Squishy has every right to interrupt me because she never does it. So
He says you have every right to interrupt him because you never do.
What up, biatch?
What up, biatch? Hello, Squishy. Sounds like Squeetus has finally calmed down or ran out of gas.
Yeah, she gave up a little while ago.
Good but overrated movie. Oh, geez. I mean, it's one of those things where you can ask a question that's just so broad, and my movie brain is just so packed with things. I'd say Aliens, the sequel to Alien, because while it's a great action movie, it is just the exact same story of the first movie all over again. So there's not a whole lot of originality in events or plot structure or anything. I still love the movie, but it's not the end all be all that a lot of people say it is. I mean, it might be marginally more entertaining if you like action versus suspense or horror, but it's not. Yeah, it is overrated. Do you have a contender, Satsu?
I don't know. I can't really think of anything recent. Like I said, I don't watch a lot of movies, so it's not fresh in my mind.
Well, I mean, good but overrated in your world would be Tales from the Hood 2.
No.
Yeah, Tales from the Hood 2. It's good, but it's overrated.
That movie is bad. And if even a single human said they enjoyed it, then yeah, it's overrated. So I guess that part's true.
Mr. Yes, Satsu, have you made shrimp gumbo?
No, gumbo is something I've yet to make. Just because, I don't know, man. Like the roux process is a bit of a problem for me. Like I know I can do it, I just don't want to.
And Green Death says, "Hi, Squishy."
Hello, Squishy. Getting Doritos in the kitchen.
Ooh, what kind of Doritos?
What kind of Doritos you getting, babe? Cool Ranch.
Cool Ranch. Okay. Cool Ranch used to be like my go-to for Doritos when I was a kid, but in recent years I've gone to nacho cheese.
I like the sweet chili ones. Squishy likes those too.
Mm.
And the flaming hot Doritos are.
I haven't gone near those.
They are actually spicy. Like I've had a lot of chips. It's like flaming hot, and it's like this isn't hot. They're just tasty. But yeah, no, not the Blaze ones are fucking ridiculous. Yeah, those things are crazy hot. I'm talking about the just the flaming hot ones. They are actually genuinely spicy.
Let's see. The Useless Rebel. I clicked on the wrong thing, but I'll say it anyway. Roux isn't that bad. Just keep stirring it, or it burns.
I know exactly, and that's the time sensitive and very what's the word, like precise things like that, where you gotta you gotta do this very precisely. If you fuck it up, I'm always weary around shit like that because I'm just like give me a little wiggle room, man.
Mr. Satsu, does Squishy sing a lullaby to Squeetus?
The shut the hell up count?
Wow.
No, we don't.
Sean Uli watched Watchmen yesterday. Not good movie. Way overrated. I like a lot of things in Watchmen, the movie, except I have to kind of turn off my brain from knowing the events of the comic book version. If you don't know anything about the comic book version, Watchmen can be a really, really entertaining and fulfilling movie. But if you've read the comic books, you're aware of the giant compromises made in characters, events, and twists. And that makes it a difficult movie for me to really, really love. Although I'm a big fan of the actor and characterization of Rorschach in that movie. I like the way a lot of the actors and the direction brought out the living versions of those characters in a lot of ways. Rorschach being the standout. So for that, I'm very appreciative of the movie. It's the same reason I'm happy with Marvel movies and TV shows, even if they're bad Marvel movies and TV shows, because the characters and the events and things that I grew up with as a kid are being represented in real life now and being celebrated sometimes. And I appreciate that, even if it's bad. It's the same thing with old Star Wars expanded universe stuff. Even bad Star Wars was still Star Wars. So I like Watchmen a lot. I like a lot of the things they did to bring that story to life in the places that they did it correctly. Let's see. And then I gotta... Oh, I clicked. Okay, there we go. Dom O'Leary, Lords of the Night. You didn't like my question last time, so how's this? If you could urinate any liquid... No. Moving on. Lazy Invader Shia. Playing a new Monster Hunter update today, Satsu?
Yes, I will be playing it, and depending, like I said, we'll see. I'll let you guys know if I'll be streaming it afterwards.
Okay. Frosted Glass. Pick one digital effect from any movie to replace with a practical effect. What effect is it? It's the peeling out smoke from the tire bit from Ronin. If you watch the movie Ronin, in the scene where they are capturing the suitcase, there's this one part where the car, I think that De Niro is driving, is peeling out to chase after somebody else. Smoke comes off the tire as he's revving up and peeling out. That is so obviously fake. It is painful to me every time I see it. I mean, everything else in that movie is, as far as I can tell, for the most part, practical effects, actual action, stunt doubles, etc., whole 9 yards. But for whatever reason, in that one instance, especially, and the car chases, holy cats, Ronin has some really good car chases. Really good car chases. I mean, it's Fickenheimer, I think, doing it, so it's great. But that one part just drives me nuts every time I see it. It's like, oh, it looks so bad. Like, why? Like, it looks like MS Paint and the spray paint brush just put like some white cloud on the back of the tire. It's so bad. So bad. Satsu, do you have a candidate?
For what?
Pick one digital effect from any movie to replace with a practical effect. What effect is it?
I'd like to see the entirety of the new Monster Hunter movie with practical effects instead of digital.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck.
How they pull that shit off.
Oh God. I think I'm obligated to read this just because it's a Edgar Allan Poe reference. When Rue gets burnt, do you put it in the Rue morgue?
Tee.
Har. Let's see. Jim Heelis. Satsu, did you see the Kickstarter for the Monster Hunter board game?
I didn't see the Kickstarter for it, no, but I knew that there was a push to get a board game, but board games aren't really my thing. So I was just like, somebody will enjoy this.
Joel McLaughlin, Satsu, what are your favorite nudes?
Asian ones.
Ba-dum-bum.
Oh, wait. Oh,
that answer works. That answer works. You don't have to go any further. That works.
But I do have a favorite ramen, though. If that's what you
do tell.
I like Korean ramen, like the ones that come in the pack, the black and red pack or whatever. That and probably kimchi ramen are my two favorites. Yeah, that I can think of right now.
Let's see, Mr. Yes, Lords of the Night. Do you have any house plants? I do not. No. Satsu?
No.
Okay. Let's see. Thank you, Ebony Williams. Best horror author: Poe, Lovecraft, or King? Oh. I mean, see, it's difficult for me to say just like all around one author because not everybody's litany of stories are all perfect. Like there are specific stories out of Lovecraft that really work for me and stories that don't. Same thing with King. But I guess in the overall, I probably have to say Poe, because Poe alighted upon some things in human psychology that had more variety to them. Lovecraft was a lot about confronting things that the human mind could not comprehend. It was about personal apocalypse, right? Your version of what's going on in the world has just gone away, and a lot of his stories have to do that. There are some stories that are more sort of creepy monster stuff, but Poe dealt with guilt and heartache and regret. Poe is very emotional, which I think tapped into more variety of things than Lovecraft did. King, I don't know. King always, after a while, felt to me more like King was more about the gimmick of the story than what actually was supposed to be happening. This is the new twist on this thing. Like, oh, what if a dog attacked people and was all crazy? What if there was a cemetery where pets came back to life? That's, so I'd say Poe. Long answer, short idea. Satsu, do you have an opinion?
No. Not on that one, at least.
Let's see. Travis Gardner says, Scribe, I own the Mercedes from Ronin. It is amazing, but it can't peel out that well. Well, then they should have just put the sound in and not put in the fake smoke. I mean, it would have been fine. Let's see. Frost Guys, worst practical effect you've seen in a movie. The worst practical effect? Nuki. If you know the film Nuki, and the alien in the film Nuki.
Oh, by the way, to Kyle, yes. Apparently, they said the update wasn't coming out until tomorrow, but when I booted up the game, it updated and the content is there. So I guess it is up tonight.
Dr. Keeve, Nuki? No, not Nuki. Nuki. Nukie. Nuki. It is considered one of the worst movies ever made. It is the most blatant, and probably more blatant than Mac and Me, blatant E.T. ripoff, and has a storied place in the world of bad movies. If you've ever watched any Red Letter Media, you know the tale of Nuki. Anyway. And they pulled that joke on their 100th episode of Best of the Worst last week, where they're like, "Oh, we're finally going to watch Nuki," and then they didn't. Sorry, spoiler alert, they didn't. Let's see. We've got 3 minutes to go, guys. Do you have any last questions or anything? Satsu, anything you'd like to plug before we end for the night? Any streams tonight or videos coming out?
Not really. Well, videos coming out, like I said, pretty soon I'm going to do my first video about the culinary school, and then I'm going to be doing. And if anybody's curious about it or has any questions or anything like that, you'll be getting updates as I get updates on how it's going and where it's going and, the details behind that stuff.
Michael Hatfield says, terrible CGI makes me think of the lions and deer from I Am Legend with Will Smith. Yeah, there's some places where the CGI is completely pointless. The worst decision for CGI, at least in my personal recent opinion, was taking all the practical effects in the Thing prequel and replacing them with CGI. Because if you see the behind the scenes of the practical effects going off, they look amazing. And if you know anything about the legacy of the original film, it's that the practical effects hold up today as being they're viscerally in that place. They are moving. They aren't fake looking. They look like they are actually happening, except for the stop motion at the very end, which was their worst decision of that whole thing. But either way. And so when you see the behind the scenes of the Thing prequel and you see those practical effects of those fully realistic looking human bodies suddenly exploding into these amazing monsters, and then you find out that apparently the studio they're too nervous that people wouldn't buy it. So they replaced it all and overlaid it all with CGI and ruined everything. Now, it wouldn't have made the movie any better as far as either the point of making it or the plot, but it was definitely a slap in the face to the absolute artists and engineers and everything that made those things happen, and they just painted over them. It was terrible. But that being said, everybody, we're at the top of the hour and thus the end of the show. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight on another episode of Lords of the Night. Thank you all for attending. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things, even though everyone is so well behaved. You have very little to do. Everybody who donated, thank you. Thank you so much for your generosity. I really do appreciate it. Remember that we'll be on Satsu's channel tomorrow night at the regular time, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, for another episode of Lords of the Night. Let's see. I don't have anything going on tomorrow specifically, but be on the lookout for Thursday. We'll have another TED Excellence to digest and spit out again because it'll probably taste nasty. That'll be at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern on Thursday. And be sure to follow us on Twitter. Both of us, our links are in the description. And you can also see them on the screen to find out when we're going to be doing things and get alerts for new videos and new streams, because we will do it a heck of a lot more efficiently than YouTube will. Anything else before we go, Satsu?
Be checking out Twitter just in case I go live on Monster Hunter.
Alrighty. Well, everyone, again, thanks for joining us. Satsu, thank you for joining me as always.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone, your lives make us sad, and we will see you tomorrow.
Bye, guys.
And I got my copy of Screw the Roses, Send Me the Thorns, The Romance and Sexual Sorcery of Sadomasochism.
Sadomasochism.
And today's secret word is lash.
Lash?
Lash. L-A-S-H.
How many?
How many would you prefer?